Thank you for taking the time to view this presentation outlining why Lethbridge School Division will be starting down the path to review and adjust West Lethbridge Elementary School boundaries. At the end of this presentation, we will ask you to share your perspective and answer 4 questions. Your responses are important as the division begins the work to develop a school boundary for the new K-5 elementary school in Garry Station, as well as consider options to address growth and capacity concerns at other West Lethbridge elementary schools. The 4 questions we will be asking you to consider at the end of the video presentation are: given the data presented in the video, what concerns or challenges do you foresee with the current school boundaries? For schools that are experiencing capacity concerns, what suggestions do you have to address the challenges in the short term until new schools can be built? Are there specific neighborhood community factors that should be considered in boundary adjustments? And finally, what are your ideas for minimizing disruption to students and families during the boundary changes? Please keep in mind these questions as you jot down any thoughts you might have as we go through this presentation. This section will address why a school division may need to change boundaries and our planned process to adjust elementary school boundaries in West Lethbridge to be in effect for the 2025-2026 school year. There are a number of factors related to why we'd want to change boundaries. If the new school is being built, it is necessary to redraw boundaries due to new community and relieving pressure in an existing school, much like building a boundary for the new elementary school in Garry Station. If we have to address facility capacity concerns, for instance, a school may be considered at or above capacity, and there may be space in another school in the sector. To account for future residential growth, future growth of a community in an area where a school is reaching capacity may require boundary adjustments. Due to other factors, it may be necessary to facilitate programming needs through a boundary alignment. And also there's functional realignment. Due to growth in a sector, sometimes the current boundary configurations may not be functional or provide equity amongst schools, and boundary adjustments may be required for a realignment. Lethbridge School Division's boundary review process includes 3 main components. First, there's the School Boundary Alignment Review Committee that has been formed and will review the current situation, implications of any demographic data, and will develop any proposed solutions. We have a data gathering process where data is gathered to define the current situation, review future demographic changes, and implications of any potential changes on our community. And of course, where we are today, community engagement. Community meetings are held of impacted stakeholders to discuss our current situation, maybe discuss some possible solutions and the implications of any potential changes that may be brought forward in the spring. We are just under 2 years away from the opening of the new K-5 school in Garry Station, and we are experiencing growth pressures at other schools. Now is the time to begin the process to ensure we have new boundaries in place by September 2025. You can see from the timeline that from July to October 2023, the division was in the process of gathering data and planning for our engagement of the community. Here we are in November 2023, and we have our first engagement sessions where we are explaining the why of why we need to look at our boundaries, and we are gaining the perspective of our community. By February 2024, we will have taken all the considerations from the engagement. We will have looked at all our data, and we will start to develop preliminary options based on that information. By May 2024, we will hold our second engagement sessions where we will present some of our options that we've developed for consideration and feedback by our community. By November 2024, the Board of Trustees will receive the recommendations for the changes of the new boundaries and will review them and possibly approve those new changes to be in effect by September 2025, when all new West Lethbridge boundaries will be in effect. This next section of the presentation will show the current boundaries and show census data as it relates to West Lethbridge. The boundaries we currently have in place were implemented for the start of the 2021-2022 school year. A new school in Garry Station, shown on the map as the red schoolhouse, was the #1 capital project on the Division's 3-year capital plan for several years. Currently, there are 3 schools south of Whoop-Up Drive and 1 school on the north side. The new school is to take pressure off that 1 school, Mike Mountain Horse Elementary School. Besides having to create boundaries for the new school, why would we need to review other boundaries? We will need to draw from existing school boundaries to designate communities to attend the new school. We'll also need to address growth and capacity concerns at other West Lethbridge elementary schools. We will demonstrate with some data. Using the City of Lethbridge 2023 census data, West Lethbridge had the largest percentage of growth in the City of Lethbridge from 2019 to 2023 of just over 7%. The greatest areas of growth in the city during that period were in 5 West Lethbridge communities. To the west and north was Garry Station, Country Meadows, and the Crossings. To the west and south, Copperwood, and to the south and east, Riverstone. Now let's look at some more data that we will provide some insight into some of the growth in West Lethbridge. Based on September 2022 enrollment, West Lethbridge schools had the highest enrollment per school than other elementary schools in Lethbridge. Looking to 2021 Canada Census data, when we look at new housing development from 2016 to 2021, the Mike Mountain Horse boundary had the greatest growth in housing. Then Dr. Proby was number 2, followed by Dr. Robert Paxton in South Lethbridge at number 3, and then the Coalbanks area at number 4. When we look at city population by elementary school boundary in the 2021 census, West Lethbridge schools were among the highest, with Mike Mountain Horse at 12,358 population and Nicholas Sharon at 12,072 population, with both of those communities being the highest population in the city of Lethbridge. An important statistic to look at is what proportion of the population is school-aged. Here, all 4 elementary schools had the most in the 0 to 19 age bracket, with Mike Mountain Horse and Coalbanks boundaries having the most. So some of the conclusions based on the 2021 census data tell us that West Lethbridge elementary schools have the highest enrollment of all elementary schools in Lethbridge. Mike Mountain Horse boundary had the greatest amount of new housing from 2016 to 2021. Proby was number 2 and Coalbanks number 4 for new housing in Lethbridge. West Lethbridge schools have the greatest number of residents aged 0 to 19. Mike Mountain Horse boundary had the greatest number. Mike Mountain Horse boundary had the highest rate of growth, followed by Coalbanks. We've reviewed some generic data, so now let's look at the demographics of our 4 elementary schools. This chart was developed using projections from Barriger Demographics software in December 2022. Actual enrollment data for 2023 for each school is a bit different from projected, but for purpose of illustration is not significant. From this chart, we will continue to see steady growth at Coalbanks and Mike Mountain Horse School, while Nicholas Sharon will be even, and Dr. Proby will project a small decline through the projection period. Enrollment, however, is only one factor to consider when reviewing how full a school is or has the capacity to accommodate growth in the future. Utilization of a school which measures enrollment against a school's capacity, including modular classrooms that have been added over the years, is important to determine a school's ability to support growth in student population, specialized programs, the addition of a teacher in a classroom to address class size, and address student complexity. When a school hits 85% capacity, it will start to feel a bit more crowded. From this chart, you can see that Coalbanks, far left, has been operating above 100% capacity for years and is projected to reach 117% in 2026-2027. Mike Mountain Horse, on the far right, is above 85%, but is expected to reach over 90% by 2026-2027. Although Dr. Proby and Nicholas Sharon are below 85%, you may think this indicates there are adequate space for current operations. However, just looking at current utilization does not tell the whole story. We will continue the discussion about utilization and capacity a little bit later. While we leave the discussion on utilization for a little bit, let's talk about where students attend school. The data above shows that most of a school's enrollment is based upon the school boundary with some attendance from other areas of the city. In general, except for Coalbanks Elementary, most schools have between 92% and 96% of students residing in the school boundaries attending that school. For Coalbanks, attendance from the boundary area is approximately 83%. This is due to the Spanish bilingual program that has 99 out of 258 students attending from other areas of the city. It is important to note that 62% of the attendance in the Spanish program are from students who currently reside in the Coalbanks boundary. Lethbridge School Division was pleased to receive the good news back in 2021 that we would receive funding for a new K-5 elementary school for the growing west side of Lethbridge. So let's learn a little more about the school. A new K-5 school in Garry Station will be the second elementary school in the north end of West Lethbridge, and it is being built to address growth pressures at Mike Mountain Horse School. It will be situated at the corner of Kensington and Abitibi Road West. This school will be a two-story school, and it will be designed to accommodate up to 900 students when it is fully built out. On opening capacity, it will have the ability to house 600 students. Then we will be able to add 12 more modular classrooms for growth. What is important about this school is being designed in its core to take 900 students, and so there is lots of room to grow. The school will also have an upside gymnasium for tournaments and community use, courtesy of a contribution from the City of Lethbridge of $850,000. We have shown you data about our schools and estimated enrollment growth. Now let's turn our attention to future growth in West Lethbridge that will impact our schools. An excerpt from the future growth map in the City of Lethbridge Municipal Development Plan on the right shows areas in West Lethbridge that are still developing in yellow and planned future growth that are in green. Of course, the future growth in the green areas could be 10 plus years away. Essentially, the yellow would be considered short-term growth and the green would be considered long-term growth. From the map, there are areas under development in yellow that will impact enrollment at Mike Mountain Horse, Coalbanks, and Proby. The long-term future development, based on current boundaries, has a significant impact on the current Mike Mountain Horse and Coalbanks boundaries. I think the one conclusion we can all agree is there will be another new elementary school needed in the south end of West Lethbridge past Coalbanks to address future growth. This new school is currently the #1 new school project requested in the school division 3-year capital plan. However, this new school could be more than 6 years away from opening its doors. Remember our conversation about utilization? Now we're going to look at the impacts of growth and capacity on our schools, given core utilization. So let's learn a little more about school capacity. Schools are designed with a certain number of classrooms based on planned student capacity. For example, a school designed for 600 students may open with 20 classrooms. Schools also have core areas such as gymnasiums, learning commons, hallways, breakout spaces, gathering spaces, office space, parking, student drop-off, based on the original capacity of the school. If a school's core is not designed to address future growth, and the school may find itself stretched for space even though modular classrooms are added in the future. This is what we're finding at the 4 elementary schools in West Lethbridge. For example, Cobanks and Mike Mountain Horse core spaces were not designed for the additional student capacity that was later added through modular classrooms. Spaces start to feel tight in a school at about 85% utilization, but when we look at core utilization for the additional modular classrooms, all schools in West Lethbridge are well over 100%, and Cobanks is over 200%. After explaining utilization versus core utilization, you can see from this chart that we have very high core utilization in all West Lethbridge elementary schools. Even a school such as Nicholas Sharon with utilization of 55% has core utilization of 132% due to the addition of modular classrooms over the years. Now just imagine, or maybe if you've been in one of the schools during an assembly or bell time, Cobanks and Mike Mountain Horse at core utilization of 218% and 180%. Although the division has added more classroom space through modulars to address the growth in enrollment, we are now beginning to see stress in the core of the school. Modular classrooms add a classroom, but do nothing to expand hallways, gymnasiums, learning commons, and gathering spaces that are critical to school programming. Now we will take a look at the infrastructure of our 4 elementary schools. So let's look at this chart that tells us a little bit about our school facilities. Cobanks was built in 2017 and over the years has had 14 modular classrooms added and sits at core utilization of 218%. Cobanks has the ability to add 4 more modular classrooms for about an additional 100 students. However, the addition of these will put additional stress on that core utilization. Dr. Proby, built in 1991, has 17 modular classrooms that have been added over the years for 150% core utilization. Nicholas Sharon, built in 1980, has 14 modular classrooms that's been added for 132% core utilization. And Mike Mountain Horse, built in 1986, has 21 modular classrooms that have been added over the years and sits at 180%. Now, Dr. Proby, Nicholas Sharon, and Mike Mountain Horse are great schools and they are in very good condition. However, they are in need of modernization due to some of the age of their components and some of the updates to the furnishings. They like Cobanks, who experience high utilization and stress on common areas and instructional programming opportunities. Mike Mountain Horse, with the 21 modular classrooms, 10 of those classrooms are relocatable classrooms that have reached the end of life and should be decommissioned. Therefore, there is definitely a need for a modernization of this facility. And of course, we have our new West Lethbridge Elementary School in Garry Station is currently in construction and it will open at 600 capacity. But the difference with Garry Station is it has a core capacity for 900 students. So as this school grows, those core spaces will not be stretched like we're seeing in the other elementary schools. So what if we do nothing to address capacity concerns at our West Lethbridge Elementary Schools? Well, class sizes could increase as we grow. Our hallways will continue to be crowded. Our gymnasiums, learning commons, music rooms, gathering spaces will not be able to be used as intended. We may result in programming options being limited at our schools. And of course, it creates more wear and tear on our school infrastructure. Given the data, doing nothing is not an option. So let's take another opportunity to review some of the conclusions from the data that we've heard so far. So our data tells us that a majority of students, approximately 90% or more, attend the school of their residence. West Lethbridge is the fastest growing area of the city, at an average of 1.8% per year from 2019 to 2023 based on the City of Lethbridge census. Cobanks Spanish bilingual program made up of 62% of students residing in the school boundary. Modular classrooms are not the answer to address enrollment growth pressure given stress on current core infrastructure at schools. Although there is excess utilization at Dr. Proby Nicholas Sharon, these schools have high core utilization based on modular classrooms that have been added over the years. Until a new elementary school is built in the south end of West Lethbridge, which could be 5 to 10 years away, Coalbanks Elementary School needs to have current space utilization addressed along with future growth. The data we've reviewed to date also tells us that Mike Mountain Horse boundary is in the fastest growing area of the city's west side. Enrollment pressure will be alleviated by the opening of the new school in Garry Station. There is the opportunity to right-size Mike Mountain Horse after the opening of the new school by removing some of the aging infrastructure. Coalbanks has the most stress on core infrastructure and limited classroom space due to continued growth. There's the ability to add 4 more modular classrooms to add 100 student spaces, which would lower utilization to 100%, but this would still add more stress to the core services and would not allow for future growth. A new school in the south end of West Lethbridge is still years away due to the pace of land development. A new K-5 school is the #1 new school construction request in the division's capital plan. From the data, there is a strong need to consider solutions for Coalbanks alongside the creation of a new boundary for the new school in Garry Station. We cannot wait for a new school to be built in southwest Lethbridge. So why are we taking the time to engage our community on this important matter of boundary changes in West Lethbridge? Firstly, we want to create understanding with our school communities on why we need to adjust boundaries. We just completed a change to boundary 3 years ago. So why do we need to do it again so soon? So we need to review West Lethbridge boundaries to do 2 very important things. We need to designate areas of West Lethbridge as attendance areas for the new K-5 elementary school in Garry Station for September 2025. And we need to address capacity concerns at Coalbanks Elementary School. They have a core utilization of 218%. Adding future modulars does not assist with that core utilization and will not accommodate the future growth that we see in the community of Copperwood and Watermark. And we also need to consider other considerations for schools in West Lethbridge while we are reviewing the boundaries. We are also engaging our community today as these changes impact our school families, and we want your perspective and ideas. Your perspective and ideas will assist the division as we do our work in preparing options. So Lethbridge School Division has presented our current situation and challenges that need to be addressed with the boundary review. We want your perspective, and so to gain your perspective, we want you to consider the following questions. Given the information we presented in this video, we want you to consider the following 4 questions. Number 1, what concerns or challenges do you foresee with the current school boundaries? 2, for our schools that are experiencing capacity concerns, what suggestions do you have to address the challenges in the short term until new schools can be built? 3, are there specific neighborhood community factors that should be considered in boundary adjustments? And 4, what are your ideas for minimizing disruption to our students and families during the boundary changes? Now it's your turn to have your say. For those who are joining the in-person sessions, you will get a chance to discuss these questions at the table and share your perspective. If you did not attend the sessions, we still want to hear from you. Whether you attended in person or viewed the information online, scan the QR code below that corresponds to your school and complete the attached survey. If you are not from one of these schools, scan the QR code for general community. Lethbridge School Division appreciates your perspective and your ideas. Information and access to the survey will be posted on the Division's Community Engagement webpage. The survey will be open until November 30th. You will have the opportunity to save your survey and go back and make changes as you need to up until the deadline of November 30th. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video and provide Lethbridge School Division with your perspective and ideas as the Division develops a new boundary for the new K-5 elementary school in Garry Station and considers other options for addressing growth and capacity concerns in other West Lethbridge elementary schools.